Hey guys, welcome back. It is Saturday night and I just got my kiddo to bed. We're trying to get back onto school schedule, so hopefully he will fall asleep pretty soon. Got a lot of good stuff done today. Got some things done around the house. I was able to go have coffee with a good friend of mine that I haven't seen in about a year. And I wanted to give a quick update on some things that are going on regarding my kiddo. We have been trying for about 3 years now, I guess, to get proper documentation to the school so that he can have the assistance in place that he needs for learning in the classroom. And that documentation is regarding the brain deformity that he has. I mentioned this in my last video. It's a condition called Agenesis of the Corpus Collosum. That is when the webbing, basically, that goes between the two sides of the brain is not there or is not complete. In his case, he does have some of it. He does not have all of it. And that can very much affect how language is learned and how it's understood. I talked to the school diagnostician yesterday, and they got the documentation that they need. And basically what they learned from the doctor is that with the type that he has, using visual aids in learning is never going to help him. The way that your brain works, one side takes in picture and like objects that you see, and then it translates it into word, and it's transferred to the opposite side of the brain in order to do that. Well, since we have a deficit in that transmission part of his brain, we run into the problem of, like, say with math problems, seeing pictures and them saying, okay, take this group and add it to this group. That doesn't make sense to him. So what they're going to be able to do is modify his classroom, where he can have more audio helps and he can have some visual helps as long as he can touch them and work with them, manipulate them or whatever. So I go for a meeting on Tuesday to discuss all of that, find out what all type of modifications we're going to be doing. Thankfully, his school is fantastic and lets me give my feedback, let him know if we've tried things at home and I know for sure that they don't work, or if there's things at home that I know work that maybe they haven't thought of. So we're going to get together and get a game plan going on Tuesday. Monday is meet the teacher night, and I can't believe he's going into 3rd grade. It's crazy. But I think that we're getting set up to have a really, really good year. We have gone through, since he was about 18 weeks gestation, we've gone through knowing something was wrong with his brain. Originally, they thought that he had hydrocephalus, which is extra fluid on the brain. And I went for an MRI I didn't have an MRI with him. I had just regular ultrasounds every week from about 16 weeks up until he was delivered. And then the day he was born, we had an MRI done. I keep saying MRI. That's not what I mean. That's later. We had an ultrasound done of his soft spot to check those fluid levels. All the fluid levels were normal. They wanted to check in depth when he got older. So I guess he was around 8 months old when we had a sedated MRI. And at that time, they said, okay, all of his fluid levels are normal, but the way that his brain is made up looks like it's not right. But he was still so little and he was still developing that they didn't want to make any kind of a judgment on what was going on. So fast forward a few years, I was told around school age he needed to have this repeat MRI done. We tried to get it done in kindergarten, never could get a referral. Finally in 1st grade, I believe it was 1st grade. Yeah, in 1st grade, we finally got the referral. He had to be sedated for it. It was pretty traumatic for him. And we got the results back. Well, I got the original documentation from the very first MRI, and there was significant enough finding that he was supposed to have had this repeat MRI done at 3 years old, and we were never told. I never got a copy of the documentation. That part of my life is a blur. His dad had deployed to Iraq for a year at that time, and I didn't know to follow up on things like that. I basically had been told, if we find anything abnormal, we'll contact you. Otherwise, just assume that nothing has changed on his brain and just follow up whenever he goes to school. So once we finally got this documentation, it was hard to wrap my head around, because as a mom, you know that your body is supposed to be a safe place for your baby, but something has gone wrong. So I started looking into, well, I'm diabetic. Could it have to do with the fact that my blood sugars were out of control? It's not a linked situation to this type of a condition. So we did a little bit more research and did a little more research and found out that this was supposed to be a lightning strike diagnosis. It was supposed to be like 1 out of every 150,000 or 200,000 births. Little sidebar, Kamden has a sister. Excuse my dog. He has a sister that died 40 minutes after she was born. That full story is for another video, but she had a genetic condition where we knew she would not come home from the hospital. And we had an MRI with her when I was 21 weeks pregnant. And at that time, we noticed the exact same brain condition with her. It was not tied to the genetic condition that she had, but, hello, honey. Excuse us, this is Claire. Hi, baby, lay down, okay? But anyway, the fact that she had it made me ask the doctor, is there any chance that this is genetic? And she assured me that it wasn't, but she couldn't believe that we knew anything about this condition. And I said, well, her big brother has it. So when I started working in the pharmacy back in December, of course, stop, baby. I started learning more about side effects of drugs and things like that. And I got to talking with the pharmacist that I work with and figured out that the high likelihood of what's caused this condition is that a medication that I was on during both pregnancies, that at the time of the pregnancies was considered to be safe, has now been linked to this particular type of genetic condition, as well as a cause for autism. And I do what I can to not blame myself. I didn't know. I thought that I was doing what was best for my baby as well as for me. The medication that I was on at that time, I talked to 2 or 3 different doctors about, and I was told that the side effects of going off of the medication would actually be worse for me and the baby than staying on the medication. That has been very hard. Very, very hard. Because I'm having to wrap my head around the fact that the struggles that he goes through on a daily basis are tied to a decision that I made. My gut told me I should probably not stay on that medication, and I did. But we are finally in a place where he is getting the help that he needs. He's getting into the therapies that he needs again. We're getting the help that we need at school. We're getting the modifications made at home that we need to, and things are going to be better. We're at the beginning of kind of a scary road. Things can really change as far as his brain is concerned once puberty hits, and we're within a year or so of that. So we're just trying to take one day at a time. 1 minute at a time, sometimes 1 second at a time. The rough days are really, really, really rough. But the good days are so, so good. And he is the smartest kid. I actually recorded him last night, and he has memorized all of the presidents from Washington all the way up to Trump. And I don't think I've ever even done that. Sure, I had to learn them for high school or junior high, but I don't remember those things, and he's got every bit of it memorized. So in some ways, he really, really excels. It's hard to see the deficits, but I know that we're going to get there. We're going to get better. So I just wanted to kind of give an update, give a little background on him, and we'll see how it goes. My puppy is falling asleep over here. This is Claire. Let's introduce you to all the family. That's Claire. And this is Lucy. Lucy! Hi, baby. So, there you go. You've met our whole family. You've heard a little bit of the story, and we will talk to you on Monday, probably. Have a good weekend.